Hello everybody and welcome to the launch of Secrets of Transylvania, hosted by the Romanian Cultural Institute in London. The book is written by Diana Pop Comșa, who is a marketing and big data specialist working for luxury retail and media groups, and is beautifully illustrated by photographer Gabriel Motica, a tourism ambassador of Northern Transylvania and Maramureș, with a foreword by Aura Woodward, a charity executive and communication professional who until was executive director of the Prince of Wales Foundation, Romania. I'm happy to say that the complete dream team behind Secrets of Transylvania has kindly accepted our invitation today to speak about their love for this fascinating region, which more often than not will cast a spell over the traveler. Diana, Gabriel, and Aura, I leave the three of you to share with our public the inside story of the book. And I'm convinced that in the conversation, everyone will know a little bit more about Transylvania. And who knows, maybe a few of our friends will even book that holiday. So perhaps a good starting point would be for you, Diana, to give us an insight on how this wonderful project took shape.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be here and talk about what makes Transylvania unique. The book project took shape over several years and was born out of this desire to showcase a different aspect of Romania, Transylvanian villages in particular. This space has so many hidden symbols and traditions that are very little known out of the local communities. I was born and raised there, but my career took me abroad. However, with every trip back, I realized how lucky I am to experience this and how unique Transylvania can be. I truly believe these villages can have something to teach the 21st century world and tell us to slow down, to rewild, take in and listen to nature more. As we come out of the pandemic, I think people will want to travel better and go to places that widen their horizons and impact their well-being. Recent years have seen Transylvania featured in more and more international publications, and this book is meant to complement those articles and provide a cheat sheet as such to your travels in the region. It's filled with vivid photography and personal stories from someone born there. If you only go to Transylvania once, let's make it memorable. And so the book is generally aimed at a Western audience, first-time travelers, and it's decoding life in these villages throughout the seasons. Or even to armchair travelers who want to learn something new about a region so close to London. It's less than 3 hours flight away. I knew this type of work had to be very visual, and there was no better person than Gabriel to choose and partner showcasing the images throughout the seasons in the villages. And I knew of Aura's work for many years, and I felt very lucky that she agreed to pen the foreword. From its nature, food, crafts, to the community values, Transylvania has all the elements for a truly luxury experience and something that is rare to find. Let's talk about all these things in more detail. Transylvania is home to Europe's last virgin forests, and it's always been rich in natural minerals like gold, silver, copper, marble, and so on. And there's always a hill or a mountain with an amazing perspective, peaks and caves that can only be reached on foot. And there's also even a local saying that Romanians are brothers with the forest because of their affinity with these local woods. As a child, we used to see many wild animals approaching the farmhouse. In fact, in winter, wolves would come quite close, and we knew to keep away. And I found it quite funny to see in recent years that holidays are advertised in the UK for wolf watching experiences in Transylvania. And on that note, I think Aura was also telling me a funny story from her time around Viskri. Aura, would you share with us?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for inviting me, first of all. It's really lovely to be part of this project. Obviously, I'm very fond of Transylvania. I'm born there myself. And I have a very lovely memory from my childhood. As an adult, I worked for 15 years in southern part of the province, mainly Sibiu, Brasov, Mureș counties, and I traveled huge distances between various villages and cities and so on. And for many years, my commute was from Sighișoara to Viskri. Currently, I live in Sighișoara, and it was a wonderful spring morning. And it was just, you know, one of those wonderful sort of journeys through the hills and so on. And as we approached a village called Saskis, we came across a bear which was running alongside the road. My colleague who was driving, he said, "Look, Aura, there's a bear." And it's the most extraordinary sight you can imagine. I mean, those creatures, they're about a ton in weight. And to see all that force of nature sort of running alongside you, it was just amazing. And then, you know, you filled with excitement, a bit of fear as well. Is that possible? But it was very normal to come across fantastic wildlife, really. And I don't know all the birds, and you know, obviously you would recognize a bear, a wolf, a fox, a deer, and I've seen quite a few of those throughout my work there. But apart from the wildlife, you also have the wonderful architecture, the landscape, the UNESCO site. So it's really a magical place, and I'm really pleased that this book has come together so well.
Thank you, Aura. And Gabriel, I know you're very passionate about the nature in this part of the world. Tell us more.
First, hi to everybody. Hello from Transylvania. What about Transylvania? Transylvania has a great blend of natural landforms, starting with a great plain in the center, then gradually changing shape to the hills and the mountains, Carpathians, that surround the region. Transylvania names come from the Latin over the forest, and UNESCO recently declared two ancient forests in my area as a treasure of international importance. Nature has always been a great part of all my life. I have traveled to most of Europe mountains and the region, and remain most attached to my home landscapes. In recent years, I've been organized weekends tours exploring the rivers, hills, and mountains of northern Transylvania and my region Maramureș. We try to create a new experience where we combine nature, culture, and gastronomy for a unique weekend escape. We invite local artists across villages and see the farmers' work. We visit the wooden churches and other landmarks, and we always make sure to have a copious lunch with the local delights.
Oh, nice. I mean, on the topic of food, let's talk about the amazing food, right? So it's Transylvania is at the crossroads of empires with influences from the east and west, and the food is delicious and a particular local pride. Romania is only 6% of the EU territory. However, it holds about a third of all its farms, and this comes from the large volume of small-scale subsistence farming. Virtually every farmhouse has a back garden or vegetable patch that supplies the kitchen and the daily meals. And the rich flavors come from cooking in season and the limited use of chemicals. There's always new recipes to look forward to as the seasons change, and a particular favorite of mine has to be the soups, or even the chorbas, which is a rich broth-like soup. You might go to restaurants and see the soup menu is just as long as the mains menu, which is quite extraordinary. And I'm always looking forward to this going back home. Aura, I know you also work with farmers and with local produce. Tell us more.
Yes, it's true. I think it was 2017 when I was at the time working for the Prince of Wales's Foundation in Romania, and we started a program about special produce produced particularly by small farmers. You're absolutely right that the Romanian countryside is quite quite fragmented. There are millions of small farms, many of them are subsistence farms, but also Transylvania has this very, very rich land, and it can produce some outstanding food, and it does produce some outstanding food, but the question is, how do you take that food to the market? How do you support the farmers to find the market? So we started a survey, which was not just Transylvania, it was all of Romania. We went to the Danube Delta, we went to Bukovina, we went to Maramureș, to Banat and Transylvania. And we partnered that particular program with Slow Food, which is a wonderful organization from Italy, and they're really, really good at sort of mapping farmers and good produce. So it was a wonderful journey, really, across various regions, finding something which is unique, which is specific. There were two projects. We were looking for something which stands out as well. And I remember we came to a village called Basna. This is near Mediaș, and they have a local breed of pigs called the Basna pig. And this breed has nearly disappeared. They try to bring it back. But the fat, for example, of this particular breed is very low on cholesterol. So there is such a thing as healthy fat. And I remember my Italian colleague, you know, he was presented with a box of fat, of lard, untura, as we say in Romanian. And he said, you know, if I take this to Italy, to an Italian cake maker, he will cry. It's just so good. It's just perfect. So we do have this amazing produce so often. You know, another good example is honey. Transylvania, Romania in general, I think is the biggest producer of organic honey in Europe. And this is because the countryside is mostly untouched by chemicals, as you said, by pollution, because to produce organic honey, you have to have very specific conditions in terms of pollution. And we have this majestic countryside, which is, you know, it has its challenges, it has issues in terms of infrastructure and all the rest of it, but it also has potential. And this is very much what we were looking for, potential. Just to give a comparison, Romania is as big as the UK in terms of surface, in terms of land surface. And in UK, they're able to make honey just in a tiny, tiny bit of Scotland. The rest of the UK doesn't qualify to produce organic honey. So we do make quite a lot of organic honey. The UK has already started to market Transylvanian honey, for example, through a major supermarket. But there's so much potential in terms of food, in terms of really, really good produce, which we can produce and support the countryside.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And Gabriel, what food stories would you like to share?
Nothing goes to waste in the countryside. Also, people know the origin of the products. They eat because for the most part they farm it or grow it themselves. Using traditional agricultural methods, farmers work the fields, prepare hay for the animals. The animals give them milk, butter, cheese and meat. The two main religious events in Transylvania, Christmas and Easter, are a time when locals prepare traditional food, and every house is expecting guests with well-known dishes like polenta, sarmale, cakes, cozonac. We show more picture in the book about
yes, we do. We have a whole chapter dedicated to food, don't we? And it was so hard to make a selection, and some of the pictures are from my mother's recipes, so there's a debate in the family as to which pictures make the cut that I did not look forward to, but we do choose some of the iconic recipes and showcase in that chapter.
And can I just say something? I think one of the wonderful things about our food is the social aspects. There are very few dishes which are made just for one person. Really, the most popular types of food we eat are based on simple ingredients, quite a lot of in-season produce, but also they are made to share. I think this is such a lovely aspect of our cuisine, that it's always about, you know, come along, have a meal with us, you know, even strangers sometimes, you know, they're welcome to come along.
Especially in the countryside.
Mm.
Yes. And that's so true. There was always a pot cooking on my grandma's stove, and it's never a portion of one or even two. Actually, those recipes are impossible to cook when you live by yourself. They're all family sizes. So I do agree with that. Another aspect that makes Transylvania unique is everything has to do with its crafts. There's a wide variety of crafts across wood or wood carving or sculpting, pottery, embroidery, glass making. It's really hard to even choose what to feature. So I know, Aura, you've also worked with traditional crafts when you were working on restoring traditional property around Viscri, I believe.
Yes, the headquarters of the Prince of Wales Foundation Romania is in this village called Viscri, which is in Brașov county, and it's a very ordinary farmhouse, really, built partly in 1700s, and this became the main center for the foundation, but it needed quite a bit of work in terms of expanding it and making it suitable for training and education. So we chose the barn, which is actually, there were two barns next to each other, and they were built sort of 1800s. The barn was in a rundown state when we started, but we had fabulous architects, and we transformed this barn into a proper lecture room, a conference room. The business model also had in mind that the charity will not have educational programs at all times, and when that's the case, the barn became a food hall and sort of cafe, socializing sort of area. And we used local materials, local techniques, local craftspeople. I think all the materials came from probably within 30 kilometers. Very often we would do programs with foreign students about sustainability, and I love those programs because you just need to go to Transylvania to see what sustainability means, really. Everything is so local. You know, we would look at a medieval church from 1400s, for example, and when we tried to find out, okay, what sort of materials do we have here, everything came within 20 kilometers. So yes, it was a labor of love, because I love traditional buildings so much, not just my job, and everything, you know, wood, lime. The floor is paved with some sort of bricks which are made by hand, and those bricks are using basically local earth, and that's burned in a specific way. So everything there really tells that's local, that's sustainable, and obviously it encourages the local economy as well, because those old buildings, and you talk so beautifully about them, and so many vivid pictures of Gabriel in the book, old buildings are assets. They're really about our history, our traditions, but also a critical ingredient to create jobs for the future. So if you do the right thing with them, if you look after them, if you restore them, if you keep that traditional outlook, then people will want to come and see it. And when you have that sort of interest in your area, then that means potential for business. And that's critical to develop our countryside in a gentle, sustainable way. That's the key, I think.
I agree. That's truly the key, and also in the continuity for the local jobs, but also I hope there's also documentation around these traditional techniques, and we are able to pen down what is going on. Because I remember from my family, all the knowledge is in their heads, is not necessarily passed down in a written form. So I think I hope for the future that we are able to also document this knowledge.
Yes, and I think there are good news already. I've worked myself on something which is called pattern books, and this is like a manual of local architecture, and it tells you everything about geometry, proportions, types of windows, doors, the sort of materials you should use. And I think that is very important to document that. A lot of craftspeople have so much knowledge in their heads, and again, training is critical, so you pass on those skills. But I think we're making progress on that. Certainly I know of many initiatives which already incorporate this sort of research and writing down aspects in their work.
That's great. That's very encouraging to hear. A particular favorite craft of mine is anything that has to do with pottery or ceramic, which we can find all over Transylvania, and it's a tradition that goes back, I don't know, 2,000 years probably. I would say it might be the most preserved craft we have today. And every farmhouse has a nice room, as they call it, where the family display all of their best embroidered pillows or bed covers and the plates go on the walls, and all these things are passed down as dowry from a generation to another. And you see this in every village, every farmhouse you go to. It's a source of family pride. And what I like, and I collect quite a lot of pottery, is that the designs or the motifs change from a region to another. You might have red and blue around the Corund area, but then as you go to Maramuresh or in the north, there's a lot more brown, ochre. So it's never the same. There isn't any one Transylvanian design as such, as every region has put its mark on what they see as the local sort of pottery traditional motives. And so with every trip I bring back a few more items, yes, I'm very pleased, and I shall pass it down to my daughters. Also, I think, Gabriel, you see a lot more often, you photograph villages at many special events throughout the year. What stands out for you when you go to these events?
It's a tradition for many people in traditional villages to dress the old costume, or often women especially, they create again nice style for shirts, especially with embroidery, very nice motif, and they look marvelous.
That's true. That's true. I think Ia, the Romanian Ia, is quite famous, and there's more and more. I think they're appreciated more and more, right? With the young people. I noticed also some pictures that you've taken in village weddings, and they're quite young. Everyone is dressed in all these costumes, isn't it?
Also, this is interesting thing to see here in Transylvania. Many young people, which they going marriage, they want to do all the ceremony dressed in the costume, popular costume, and they tell to all the invite people who come for the party to come the same in the old costume, and then it's a very nice moment for the tourists or for the foreigners which are in that village to see this wedding in traditional style.
That's true, and some of these costumes are very old, probably even as old as 100 years, and as they're kept in the family. So I believe everyone is probably very proud to showcase their family's dowry as such. And also talking about traditions, we have a chapter in the book documenting the traditions, or the key ones, throughout the seasons, and they tend to be generally organized around religious key dates. What would be a tradition that stands out for you, Aura, if you were to pick one?
Well, there are quite a few, but I think I quite like the Mărțișor one, which is coming up actually, and I think it's in so many things we do in terms of countryside traditions, it's so much metaphor, so many symbols, and I suppose Mărțișor is really the symbol of hope and renewal, and particularly now I think we all need a bit of hope. And the colors, I mean, it's just something, it makes you smile, regardless of the design. It's just something jolly you can wear and just make a statement. That's it. We're starting something new. We start again. There's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and let's have another go. And then obviously that comes together with nature, which is just coming back to life. So yeah, I think this would be one of the traditions which I really love, particularly in springtime.
It's true, it's coming up, and I remember my father was always very on point with all of the Mărțișor and gifting for my mom and myself, and he would bring flowers on the 1st of March. So it's quite a nice tradition that I remember. and sometimes he's posting me Mărțișor from Romania, so that I'm very fond of that one too. And some of the most poignant photographs that Gabriel, or I've seen of Gabriel's work, are the ones around Christmas time, and how villagers celebrate this religious occasion. What takes you to these villages every single year, every Christmas, no matter the weather? What makes you go back, Gabriel?
For me, Christmas is the most important religion occasion, and it's always special moments being in a wooden church that is several hundred years old, seeing the local dresses in traditional costume, and listening to the liturgy. It's a moment of peace. And in the evening, in many traditional villages, carols goes from a house to another house, especially small children. They sing before the doors of houses, and then they go inside and they taste the traditional food, and all are happy, and many days people celebrate Christmas.
That way. I remember that we were doing the rounds as well, and as children we were going to all the houses on our street, and we would receive and take turns and receive others, and it would go on and on for several days. It was a never-ending feast. So very fond memories of that, and I do hope more people experience that, even though Transylvania winters can be quite harsh, but I do think that it's quite rewarding to experience Christmas there as well.
What about you? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, for me, I think also the dyeing of Easter eggs. It was always an activity that I helped with because it was so much fun. We never used chemical dyes, so we were collecting things that we had around the house to give different colors to the eggs. So it could be anything from blueberries or red cabbage or white onion peel. My mom was very resourceful in trying to find different colors from different natural ingredients, and so it was always sort of part of our preparations for Easter, and we always had a story about what color we use for or what element we use for what color, and it just made for a very nice conversation as we were cracking the eggs on Easter Day. So that would have to be a highlight for me.
There are also those amazing eggs which are painted. It's almost a work of art. I always love seeing them, but it comes with a huge worry, what if it breaks? Because you think it's so much work there, so much, it's extraordinary really. Yes, there's so many traditions we have. I love them. I love Easter time as well. It's just particularly the Lent and all the preparations on the way to Easter. It's just
all of these, like the Easter egg motifs, like you say, again, when people collect them, they're truly very precious. So my family never painted them in such detail because we used to eat it, but I do know of many families who collect such designs as well. As we come towards the end of the interview and discussion, I wanted to hear your thoughts about what are your hopes for the future of Transylvania, and I'll start with myself. So I do hope we'll find ways to preserve Transylvania's incredible nature, so that more of the future generations can enjoy and experience this landscape. There's already very clear images of the effects of deforestation or mass deforestation that is happening, and also the effects of climate change that already make this ecosystem extremely fragile. So I do hope that more can be done to protect the environment, and that more, and then on the other hand, I hope that travelers will want to engage with the villagers and see firsthand how they live, their life values and principles. And I dedicate this book to my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. She exhibited all her life great resilience and discipline, kept us all in check. And in general, I think the values of village communities will resonate globally. I invite you to read more in the book as I give more examples. What about you, Aura? What do you hope for the future?
Well, I really, really hope that we will find the right balance between keeping this treasure, and it is a treasure, and bringing development. I think we have to recognize that people want and need a better life. They need infrastructure, they need jobs, they need economic development. But hopefully we'll find a way to bring all this to the countryside in a careful way, not to damage, not to disturb too much this amazing biodiversity and landscape and everything which we have there. I think it can be done, and that's my hope, really, to see that balance between development and keeping what we have, which is unique.
That's true. That's true. And Gabriel?
I hope that Transylvania will continue to be an oasis where traditions are kept alive for tourists and locals alike to enjoy for as long as possible.
And for them to see your wonderful pictures as well, as you always choose with every chance you get. So thank you both. I do hope that our ideas or our thoughts will inspire more people to also discover the book and read more of the stories. It is available on Amazon UK and also on Waterstones online. And let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. And with this, I would like to say also thank you for participating, and thank you to the Romanian Cultural Institute for inviting us. Happy reading.
And please come and discover the secrets of Transylvania.
Yes, thank you.